Welcome back to the Growth Hack Franchise Marketing Unleashed. I'm Marcus, founder of AdCloud, where we help franchise brands grow with smarter strategy and fewer shortcuts. Today's episode comes straight from the lab. We ran an internal sprint and built 3 funnels in under 24 hours. Same offer, same audience, same ad traffic, but 3 completely different landing experiences. One was a quiz style funnel, one had short form copy with zero scrolling, and one was a classic booking page. And we wanted to know which one would actually convert cold traffic into booked appointments. The winner, the simplest one. The no scroll short form landing page outperformed the others by 32%, especially on mobile experience. It turns out fancy funnels don't always win, but fast, frictionless flows still dominate. Mckenzie's here as always with me to help break it all down.
So, Marcus, what sparked the 24-hour funnel sprint? Was there a bigger goal behind testing 3 funnel types this fast?
You always kind of think you know what's going to work right, but overall is really just poking holes and figuring out, okay, is this something we should try? And it's always best to know versus wondering 6 months down the road, should we have done a quiz style? Should we have done long form? I think traditionally long form versus short form is the more traditional go-to for testing, how people consume information. And sometimes we see one work over the other, but so many times we see business owners and marketers get stuck in the weeds of like, this has got to be the fanciest funnel I've ever built. It's got to have all these bells and whistles. And what's funny is 9 times out of 10, you'll look and you'll see this funnel that you're like, somebody made this with their eyes closed. Like, this is just super basic color scheme, basic call to actions, and it's converting crazy. I mean, I have seen multi-million-dollar funnels that look like my 7-year-old built it. And that, I think, comes down to simplicity. People just simply don't always want the big, fancy, crazy experience. They want it to be more streamlined. They want to get to the end goal as fast as possible because they have a million other things that they would rather do than spend their time trying to jump through hoops to get to the end goal of what they initially entered the funnel for.
So, can you break down what the 3 funnel types were that you tested? Like, let's just get into each type of funnel. What did those look like?
Yeah, so we started off with a quiz style funnel. We actually use this depending on the industry, but on the quiz style funnel, we were working in the sauna industry. And so this was more so, should we help people understand the benefits in a different way, like asking questions like, how are you feeling? What issues are you having? Like pain point questions. And then being able to display, here's the solutions. Here's everything that red light therapy or advanced light therapy can do for you. And so that kind of triggered our initial build on the quiz style funnel, was seeing like, if people are able to insert their pain point or connect with that, and we're able to give the benefit and solution, would that drive a bigger buy-in, more people in the door, more leads, et cetera? And then we had the short form copy with zero scrolling. Now this was like super straightforward. You had your offer, come in and grab your first red light therapy session for $29. So it's very straightforward. You click, you go to the lander, and it just kind of reinvigorates that. If you submit your information here, you're going to reserve your spot and be presented with the option to book your appointment. So again, it's all hero based. There's a nice image of the red light therapy room or bed, and then you have that call to action with the form right there. You don't have to do anything else. We've already talked about that in the ad. So we kind of prefaced it versus saying, hey, learn about red light therapy, come to this page where we're going to word vomit for the next 30 minutes. And so it was very straightforward. You knew what to do. All you had to do is enter your name, email, phone number, and your spot was reserved. And then you could move on through the funnel. And then last was more of a classic booking page. By classic booking page, this was focused more around a booking widget, as you would traditionally see on most static websites. You find the location, there's a page that has a ton about every service under the sun that they offer. You can click a widget, open it up, and then select the service and go through the booking flow. That's one we try not to use very often because we traditionally see that people get order anxiety, even at restaurants. When my wife orders, I'm like, I'll just have that. Or I just get the same thing every time because I don't want to have to figure out what I should get. I just kind of want someone to say, like, you should try this. And we find that the same in service businesses where there's so many service businesses and clients where they come out and they're like, well, we want to offer, $99 for every, and you can pick your poison, pick your service. And we always say it's a terrible converter because when you think about yourself as a consumer, we have this streamlined, almost lazy mentality because everything in life is so convenient that we just want someone to say, this is where you should start. You should get this service. This is everything that you should have. And I think that is where so many brands mess up because they're like, well, we want a la carte. We want people to be able to choose all these different things. Those pages just kill, like, it's fine. Have it on your site, but that is not a true funnel. If your business is building that and you're pushing traffic to that and you're like, okay, we should be making 10 grand a month because we're pushing them to this booking page, it's never going to convert really well. Never, because the user gets there. Now, let's say you have 10 options. Come up with 10 reasons they shouldn't actually book an appointment. And the most common one is because they don't know where they should start. They don't know what's best. They want someone to recommend. And that's why an offer of a specific service is always better, a specific product is always better than giving the full menu and hoping that they buy. That's where we started in looking at all those different things and saying, okay, is a more engaged quiz better? Is short form, direct to the point, easy, get in, get out better? Or why not throw in a classic booking page, even though we know it's probably not going to perform very well? It was a great test. There's really no bad tests in marketing. It all gives you answers. Some of these work better on different platforms. And I think that's where the quiz style funnel happened to actually work pretty well. I wouldn't say necessarily better, but better than social media. So the quiz style worked better for Google traffic versus social media, but it still did not outperform short form copy and zero scrolling. So sometimes it's a matter of like implementation and where the traffic source is that can kind of determine what you should launch there or where you shouldn't. But we wouldn't know that if we didn't test across platforms. But I was with social media, the reason short form and zero scrolling works is because it's disruptive advertising. We have other things going on in our life. This wasn't a part of the plan. We weren't actively looking for this solution. So yes, maybe I'm interested, but if you can't deliver the end result in 5 minutes or less, I'm out because I have an Instagram reel I want to go back and watch. All right. So I think that's a big part of understanding the platform you're marketing on, understanding your consumer. And I think the most simplest overlooked thing in all of this is that when we go into marketing mode, when business owners go into marketing mode, they completely throw out and negate the fact that they are the consumer. Think about how you would market to yourself. Think about how you like being marketed to and how you like to go through those funnels, and then do the same exact thing. Don't go into it trying to build some extravagant thing that you yourself would never go through. But so many get in their head and they're like, it needs to be this bigger than life funnel for some reason. And then they're mad when they spend 3 months building it and it never converts. And now you've wasted all that time instead of just launching something that you might not agree with and you think looks terrible. And normally if you think it looks terrible, it's probably going to convert well. So try to take your opinions and design eye out of it and really just hone in and focus in on where this is the starting point. It doesn't mean you're going to stay there, but let's start here, see where it's converting, and then go from there.
So the short form funnel seemed to sort of win the test. Am I right on that?
Yeah, 9 times out of 10. It's not to say none of the others would never win in certain instances. Classic booking pages, I don't even consider that really a funnel. You can test it if you want, but I just think that's kind of a waste of money. It can be extremely valuable in there to understand certain things about the end user. But in most cases, short form copy, minimal scrolling, easy, clear call to action is the way to go.
And do you think that's just because of the, like you were talking about earlier, that people just want it as quickly as possible. They don't want to be distracted for long periods of times. Like you think gave it the edge to win.
Yeah, I think people just don't want to be distracted for a long period of time. When I'm really busy in the office, right? And you have something that you need to talk about. In my mind, I'm like, listen, I already have things planned out. I have to get X, Y, and Z done. I have calls, I have all of these things. But now it doesn't mean I don't want to talk to you. It just means that our talk needs to be efficient and quick because I have a million other things I need to do that I already had planned in my mind.
Like your game plan.
Yeah, I already have a game plan. Maybe this is my lunch break. I'm on social just catching up and seeing all the stuff that everyone's posted. And now here's this thing from AdCloud breaking up my feed. Oh, this is kind of cool. Maybe I'm interested. Let me go into it. I only have 30 seconds. I don't have time to be reading an entire blog post. So you have to take into account what people are doing and where they are. And especially on social, our minds are not in a long-term state. It is in fast, frequent fixation. When you open the app, whether you know it or not, you naturally go into that like, I'm just going to swipe until something catches my eye and my attention. And so if you know that that's where consumers are, why would you try to deliver them something where they have to really digest it and say, here's a 100-page book, maybe you should read it? No one is interested. Now, maybe later down the line, that's it. But that's why short form works. It's why Meta lead forms works really well. It's why Meta built that feature because it was in-app. You didn't have to leave the app. It was quick. It can autofill your information. You barely have to do anything. You have to say yes one time. And that's why it works really well. But I continuously see brands building these elaborate funnels thinking this is what the consumer wants, and no one wants it. Google traffic is different. I think you can get away with it here and there, but majority of people are not interested in it at that initial touch point. Maybe at touch point 7, you can educate and you can do all those things. But if you're talking about how do we just get their information right off the bat, make it super simple, and then date them down the way and continue to educate. And you can do all those things once you have an email address, but don't try to get them to give you their soul and heart right from the beginning when they didn't even know you existed 5 seconds ago. Short form is for sure the way to go.
Were there any surprises in how people actually behaved inside the funnels? I know you mentioned that the quizzes kind of did better than maybe you expected, but what really stood out in the data that you didn't really expect?
Interestingly enough, I think on the quiz side, we found that maybe it did curate a little more value from the end user, like a different user. It was people that really were invested in this particular health and wellness versus the general public that has seen an article or heard about red light therapy, et cetera, and was just like, ooh, maybe I want to try the fad, right? That's traditionally how people get into it as we look at that, lashing, et cetera. It's like, oh, I've heard about it, the FOMO. I think I want to give this a try. Whereas I think the people that we saw coming through the quiz seem to be just more invested in it. They had already done their research. And again, that was far heavier on Google, which makes sense. There's a place for everything somewhere in the funnel, but that's the biggest part. Now on the social part, much higher volume, getting more through the short form, but you do have to have that education funnel on the back end because they take a little bit more convincing. And I think that's okay. You can't grow and scale to the place you want to be without that. But a lot of people don't want to put in the work. I mean, how many times have we heard, I want people to buy it, come in and buy a membership and be an advocate and sold out for the brand. And that just doesn't happen. On social, it's a lot of work. You get them in, they're somewhat interested, not really, and then you continue to educate them throughout. But the volume is immensely more powerful. I mean, your cost per lead versus Google is 70% less. And so you have to leverage that platform and build the right back-end funnel. I think it's interesting as you look at platform versus platform. I wouldn't say anything was overly shocking on social, quiz versus short form versus booking page. Again, booking page, we kind of knew it would flop, but it's always good to throw in just in case. As we looked platform over platform, that's where it becomes more interesting to figure out, okay, is there a life or funnel where the quiz lives? And maybe that's we're generating social interest, but then we're retargeting some of those people on Google with a funnel that presents the quiz. There's so many different ways to intertwine that, and vice versa. When the Google traffic that we're getting drops off, maybe then they start to see the social campaign that takes less work and they're interested there. So you can mix and match that traffic and figure out, okay, where is this sweet spot and how do we get a healthy amount of people who are really into wellness and then others who are in the very early stages but need more education down the line. And I think when you marry those two together, that's when you really, really get great results.
So, what would you say is the lesson here for business owners who are still wanting to do the kind of elaborate, overbuilt funnel? How would you direct them more into these short form funnels that you know are going to convert better?
Your funnel doesn't need to be fancy. It needs to work. People don't want to scroll. They don't want to guess. They want to know what they're getting, who it's for, and how to book fast. And how to book fast is probably one of the most important things in that line, especially on mobile. Friction is the enemy. The more steps, the more people bounce. So if you're spending weeks building out quizzes and long form landing pages, it's time to pause, start with something simple because the best funnels aren't the prettiest, they're the clearest. Thanks for listening to the Growth Hack Franchise Marketing Unleashed. If you like this episode, leave us a review, follow the show, and share this with someone who is buried in funnel software right now. We'll see you next week with another test, another takeaway, and zero fluff.